Welcome everyone to another episode of our weekly Indie Dev Showcase, where every week I recap 6 of the many indie games we play on stream, especially from our Wednesday night streams. And if you'd like me to cover your game in a future video and stream, please get in touch. Unless otherwise noted, all these games were played with press keys provided by the developer. For our first game, this is Scrapnaut. This was played during the Steam Summer Festival, and I believe it is now out in early access. And what we have here is essentially, I guess, Don't Starve Steampunk Edition, where we are trapped on an alien world, and the only way to get off and survive is, well, to use the power of steampunk to build, craft, and defend ourselves from a myriad of enemies and, of course, the environment itself. And the world is procedurally generated at startup, and you're going to, of course, do the basics of gathering resources that you're going to need to craft, which will then let you do more, and as we all know, you rinse and repeat. Now, I did have a few issues with this game. First, the presentation, I think, isn't as strong as I would like from this genre. The game, as you can see kind of in the bottom of the screen, does have a hunger mechanic, which I don't know if that's still in the version that's out now, but was in the one that we played. And it does seem to be a annoying kind of limitation for a game like this. Combat can be a little cumbersome, as you'll have to kind of go into combat mode, and I think I found some responsiveness issues when we last played it. Now, from the demo itself, it does seem to indicate that there's going to be more advanced enemies, and you can actually kind of set up and build like a sustainable area. But from what I played of it, it did seem to be on the clunkier side, and for fans of Game Wisdom, you know I already have kind of a negative on survival style games to begin with, so it's kind of hard for me to look past those issues. With that said, if you are looking for another survival style game and have an affinity towards steampunk, I would say give this one a check, especially see what it's at now, after the fact that it is on early access and it is getting updates. And I believe they will be adding multiplayer to it in an upcoming one. Up now we have Listeria Wars. This is a demo, and this is one part, they describe it as real-time tactical combat. I would say this is one part public health advisory kind of game. But the story is that we play as the immunity or the immune system of this guy here who, quite frankly, keeps on doing very disgusting things like eating food off the floor or brushing his teeth without cleaning off his toothbrush. And we need to defend him from viruses and bacteria that are trying to make him sick. And to do that, we set up our blood cells, our white blood cells, on, I think we're inside his immune system right now. And your only real control is dictating what units you build, which is based off of your resources. That's the SC you see in the top left, and positioning them in the world. You see, the challenge is that certain ones are more glass cannons, others are your tanks, and you have to keep them alive while these waves keep coming in and in. If any germs get past your crew, you lose health. And there's a persistent element of being able to unlock upgrades for your various cells as well. And there seems to be a decent variety of things to do, but it's still all kept very limited based on how you can interact. So I don't know if there's enough here for the finished game to motivate somebody to play through it, but it did seem like a generally charming game. And if you are looking for something I guess a little more health conscious, then I would say give this one a check. We now turn to something very different. This is Super Mombo Quest, and this is a game that definitely has a lot of potential, especially for fans of platformers. So the story is that we play as Mombo here, who may either be the cutest or the most disturbing thing you've seen all day. and he is on a quest to save the world from an evil that is threatening to destroy everything. And to do so, he's going to have to use his skills, his knowledge, and that giant tongue of his in order to explore and survive. So, the challenge of Super Mombo Quest is that it does have elements of Metroidvania, along with kind of the technical play of platformers like Super Meat Boy and other ones that are more focused on kind of moving around as optimally as possible. So the twist of Super Mombo Quest is that while this is an open world kind of like a Metroidvania, in order to 100% most of the rooms, you need to collect all the purple crystals and hit every enemy in the level while maintaining your quote-unquote Mombo combo. Now, some rooms like this may just require you to get to a specific MacGuffin or find a character, and the game features a lot of upgrades and persistent elements, such as letting you get more health, make the platforming a little bit easier, new powers, which then can be used to unlock more stuff. And I was really getting into this one. It's a very solid kind of action-adventure platformer, and I like how there really isn't a quote-unquote like wasted room. Like we see in a lot of 2D action-adventure games, rooms that are just there to kind of pad things out or just, expand the level without giving you anything new to do. In Super Mombo Quest here, every room has a purpose, it has a MacGuffin for you to go for. And it makes it so that you do want to explore every single path and get every single collectible. And we only had a chance to play the demo of this one, but I was really getting into it, and hopefully we'll get a press key for it when the full game is released. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for this spotlight. And now for a quick thank you to our current Patreon supporters. And if you're interested in my books on design, they are available at most major retailers. 20 Essential Games to Study is for first-time developers looking to be inspired, and the Game Design Deep Dive series covers the history and philosophy of major genres, with horror coming later in 2021. Now up, we turn to Aeon Drive. This was another demo that we looked at, and what we have here is a speedrun focused platformer. If you've seen or played Dust Force, then this should sound very familiar to you. But we replaced the charming forests and parks of Dustland, wherever it took place in, with Cyberpunk Barcelona. So for this game, our key tech is the ability to throw out our dagger there, as you can see, and then teleport to where it's set up. And you can do this as many times as you want, and you can also attack enemies along with it. And the challenge of the game is you need to move through the level, collect as many MacGuffins and power-ups that you can see, and make it to the end before time runs out. And this is one of those games where time is very short. And if you're not good at kind of speed run based momentum, you are not going to like Aeon Drive at all, because this is all about that kind of constant focus and optimization. You really don't have the time to kind of process or prepare. And most likely, you are going to be repeating levels again and again and again to get that best time or that best pathing down. Now, to add to the challenge of the game, you can throw the knife in any direction. And for somebody like me whose analog stick is not exactly the most stable, that also added to some of the difficulty. Now, you're not going to be working with realistic physics. Everything is simulated, so this is definitely not going to be Super Meat Boy levels of challenge. But a lot of this game is going to come down to routing. And you are going to also be able to compete with high score challenges and trying to find all kinds of bonuses as well. So I would definitely not recommend Aeon Drive if you are a novice platform fan. But if you're somebody who has certainly tested your skill in a Super Meat Boy or Dust Force or any other kind of higher level platforming and you're looking for something new, then I would say give Aeon Drive a try and see if it works for you. Now we turn to Bonfire Peaks. This is a puzzle game very much in the Sokoban style, where we have come to this mountain, and apparently we want to, I guess, burn our belongings. I think maybe we're going to go live in the woods and get off the grid or something like that. But the twist of this game is about how you carry and position the objects that you need in order to build your way around. As you can see, you're able to walk around, step on objects, and turn and move around. It's very much like that Steven's sausage roll game that I failed at a long time ago. And your challenge again is figuring out, okay, how do I manipulate these objects in order to build the right path? Because it's not only about building your way up, but you also need to get the item that you need back down to then set on fire, as you saw right there. I love the hub world as well that takes place here, where every time you complete a bonfire, you're given a crate, which will then allow you to move up and around the world. And observant players can actually skip puzzles if they can kind of figure out a more challenging solution to getting through the hub itself. And the aesthetics have this very great voxel look, as you've seen so far. In terms of any issues from when we play the demo, it's still very much that style of Sokoban puzzle. So if you don't like those, then this game is obviously not going to work for you. But I found this one having a ton of charm, really solid aesthetic, and I would say if you are a puzzle fan, you should definitely keep an eye out for it. For our final game in this spotlight, we have Airhead. This was another demo that we had a chance to look at, and this is an action-adventure game. They're describing it Metroidvanian, and our hook of this one is that we are a body without a head. And one day we discover a head full of air in this mine shaft, and we have taken it upon ourselves to go and figure out where it came from and save its life. So this is an kind of like escort underwater, not underwater challenge, if that makes any sense. Because our head here needs air to live. And when it's either detached from our character or just wandering around, it's slowly but surely leaking air. If it runs out of air, you lose and you'll have to restart to the previous checkpoint. Now on top of that, there are enemies and other characters who are going to try and grab the head, and they'll try to go and take it away somewhere. You're going to have to get it back. So all the level design and puzzles are built around not only finding shortcuts that can open up to get from air tank to air tank, but figuring out how you can push forward while keeping the head alive and safe. So it definitely has a different feel to it compared to some of the other Metroidvania and action-adventure games we've played. Now, from the demo that we did look at here, there really isn't, or we didn't really get to see too much in terms of new tech or upgrades that you can find in the world. Now, the game did promise that. The one thing that we did see was at one point you could fill the head so far full of oxygen that you could then, fly up like it's a hot air balloon. So the game is definitely looking at having a lot of surrealistic variety to it. Difficulty-wise, I don't know if I would say this is a hard game, but it can be on the challenging side by the nature of the fact that you are just constantly having to manage your lovely little head there and keep it full of air. So if you are not familiar with action-adventure or kind of this kind of puzzle platforming kind of focus, Airhead may be a little difficult for you. But if you're a regular here or you do like this kind of genre, then I would say definitely keep an eye out for it and check out the demo that I believe is still available. So with that said, we're going to wrap up this spotlight here. I would like to thank all the games we had a chance to play. I believe they were all demos this time. But we are always looking for new games to check out here on Game Wisdom. And like I said, if you want to catch these streams live, there are our Wednesday night streams starting at 9:30 ET. As always, check out the Discord and Patreon link down below and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we are in the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.